Good afternoon, welcome to Flight Sim Outtakes. I've had this Black Square Baron and Bonanza for a few days now, and I really like them. It's the first time I bought a third-party aftermarket aircraft for Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I think it's really great. They feel good. A lot of people say, they feel really realistic. That's coming from, some real pilots that have tried them, so I've been enjoying it. And I've also been trying to teach myself these avionics, because usually I'm sitting in front of something with G1000s, whether it's the 172 or whatever. So I kind of got used to that, but this is totally different. I haven't really used these at all. So I took a few days. I tried to familiarize myself with, getting into flight plan, doing some basic things, and I put myself in a situation here. So we're flying north in the Hudson Valley. And I need to land at Hudson Valley Regional Airport on runway 6. The problem is we are in absolute IMC whiteout conditions. Just take a look outside here. Can't see a thing. So I'm going to try and put my skills to the test, see if I can manage to get this ILS approach dialed in, follow it in, and do the landing under these conditions, which are actually very treacherous. I don't even think anyone would attempt to land at the airport right now the way I set the clouds. But let's start going here. I'm going to unpause. We are in autopilot, so I did manage to do that so far. So we're in altitude hold, heading mode. We're flying almost due north for the airport. So I need to get this approach dialed in. So like I said, I've had this for a few days. I've gotten used to a few of the things on here. So this was actually already in here when I inputted the flight plan. So let's just see this. So load approach. There, it came to the standby frequency. So now we'll swap that out and put that in active. And go to the menu and switch this over to locator mode. And we want to turn this to 60 degrees. Oh, slowing down here. That's the problem. That's the challenge here. There's so many things you got to stay right on top of, and if you don't do it, you'll fall right out of the sky. And you could very easily hit a mountain or something in these conditions, depending on where you're at. So I'm stabilized here. I have the ILS frequency loaded up on my HSI there. We have the glide slope on top. That's going to start coming down at a certain point. So I'm going to switch this over to nav mode. So when we make it to that turn, it's going to make that turn automatically. So far, so good. Stabilized at 2,800 feet. Actually, what I'm going to do is activate the final leg of the flight plan. So then it's going to give us range to the airport. So the glide slope is already starting to come down. So at 2,800 feet I'm probably too high, so I'm going to start coming down along with it. Alright, the glide slope is heading back up. It's starting to come down again, So this is the secret that I figured out here. I can have it in nav mode. It's going to follow the ILS signal right down to the runway, and I can control the glide slope with vertical speed here. So everything's in autopilot mode until I have visual on the runway, is the idea. That's the radial for the runway. So there we go. The autopilot's going to start making the turn. I cannot see a thing. It is absolute whiteout IMC conditions. So, you know, and if you follow these aviation guys on YouTube, it's one story after another of pilots that got themselves into some kind of situation like this where the IMC, they can't see, you know, and they're not instrument rated, they got themselves into trouble, and they end up killing themselves. And then there's several other stories of, you know, pilots in the seat who, you know, for some reason they can't maneuver the avionics, and they end up killing themselves like that, even though they're so quote-unquote qualified. So I thought I'd just take a little time and try and learn just the basics, you know? Who knows? I'll probably never find myself in the pilot's seat having to take control of a plane like this in any kind of situation. But, you know, it pays to know these things. Who knows, you know? Could save my life someday, knowing this kind of stuff, so you never know. So we are following the localizer on autopilot. The glide slope has not started to come down yet. We can probably stop descending for the time being until that starts to come down. We're at just over 1,600 feet. Just over 5.5 miles from the runway. There comes the glide slope. Glide slope continuing to come down. We're at minus 200 feet now, so we can probably push that up when we start to see the glide slope continue to go down. 4.5 miles from the runway, 1,400 feet. Glide slope is starting to go down. I still can't see anything. It's just complete whiteout, so complete faith in the instruments at this point. Dropping the gear would be a good idea when I want to land. Keep it at about 90 miles an hour. We are right on glide slope, dead on, staying on. Might be a little low, getting a touch low. Getting a touch slow. I want to keep that at 90. Feet, starting to see the ground. Just about 90 miles an hour. Glide slope starting to go down. Runway in sight. Runway in sight. We're going to take it off autopilot and fly it in. I don't know why the weather makes the landscape looks so like pixelated and distorted. It's only when I have it on these crazy weather settings that it does that. Oh, we're getting a bit high now. I'm going to keep this coming down. We managed to do it. We were stuck up there. We couldn't see a thing. We couldn't see 5 feet in front of our face. But using the instruments, we were able to lock on to the ILS signal and follow it in with autopilot until we had visual on the runway and then glided in. This is great. These black square planes are really nice. This is the Baron. I've been using this a lot the last couple of days trying to learn these instruments, and it's a lot of fun. So if you have the sim, I would definitely recommend checking these out. Have a great night.